let's talk about this H1B thing. And you guys know me, I don't typically do a whole lot of current events, but unfortunately there's been a lot of events that are current that are pretty much affecting everything, at least as far as your money and your country is concerned. And let me just explain why, for example, big tech and all these corporate oligarchs want all of this cheap labor. It's cheap labor, right? It's the automation. Automation is oligarch speak for cheap labor. Robots is oligarch speak for cheaper labor. Okay, that's, in fact, if you look up the definition or the etymology of the word robot, it's literally what it means, okay? It literally means like slave, okay? So, yeah, this is what they're wanting. And I know there's a bunch of you people out there thinking that they're like, oh, no, we're going to have the electric, like, I work in electricity. You are not getting around the laws of physics, my friend. They need cheap labor to replace all of the expensive labor. Why do they need to replace all the Americans? Well, because Americans would like to own a piece of the country that they're told is theirs. They've been told their whole lives that this country is theirs, right? You've told this to Gen Z, millennials, Gen Xers. I heard it all the time, and well, Americans are saying, well, hold on, I mean, like, it's getting almost impossible to own a piece of this country, so I'm going to need to make more money, more dollars, because the dollar is a worthless garbage chicken shit currency. As a result, the giant corporate oligarch Ponzi scheme, the banking Ponzi scheme, the dollar Ponzi scheme cannot pay for this. They cannot keep giving you huge amounts of money, because if you have lots of dollars, you will pay off debt. And remember, we've been over this. If you pay off debt, right? If plebs start paying off debt, if a bunch of poors start paying off debt, you get an overheated economy. Overheated economy just simply means poor people are paying off too much debt, and when you have a debt-based currency, well, that means you're about to go broke. Your banks are about to be full of worthless $100 bills that nobody wants, and now they don't buy anything. In other words, hyperinflation coming home to roost. This is actually a good thing. We want this because it collapses the dollar, collapses the billionaires. You put up the fences around the country to keep all of the billionaires, bankers, and politicians from leaving. There's a reason you do that. Look up the Magnificent Seven or Seven Samurai, actually the movie Seven Samurai, and that's why you keep them from leaving, because otherwise they will be back, and in greater numbers. So, yeah. Anyway, so this whole thing that has blown up on Twitter or X or whatever, this whole thing that has blown up is because the oligarchs, they need this cheap labor to prop up all the banks that have lent them these billions and billions and billions. I know I missed my Carl Sagan moment. Billions and billions. They lent all this money to them. This fake money conjured from nothing. And these guys have all said, yeah, hey, give us a bunch of money and we'll figure out a way around this. We'll just get a bunch of cheap labor in here and it's going to solve all the problems. And then Americans, screw the Americans, who cares? Just give them hyperinflation. This is where you get something called pocket inflation. To my knowledge, I'm the only one who teaches this. Maybe there are other people teaching it, but I have not seen them yet. Pocket inflation is simply where you subsidize your competitor so that way the other people go out of business. Right, and we're seeing this more and more. So this is where, and subsidies take different forms: tax subsidies, rental subsidies, housing. It doesn't make any difference. They get subsidized, and the domestic population does not get subsidized. They get to pay full whack on everything, while everybody else, they're paying the same amount of money, but they're not getting. But the Americans aren't getting the money on the back end. These people are getting all the subsidies, whether it's corporate or otherwise. This is what's going on, and a lot of Americans are starting to figure this out. And so they're starting to say, hey, this isn't an issue necessarily of people wanting to come to the U.S., but hey, why don't you deport the 50 to 60 million illegals that are already here first? Why don't you get them out of the country first? Let everything kind of settle in, let prices come down, let the business cycle correct for a while. Then we can talk about importation. No, that's not what it is. It's no, we need to import them. We need to import them right now. And if you don't want to, you're a racist. Yeah, that's not going to fly with a lot of people anymore. It doesn't fly with me anymore. Like, no, because I already know your scam. You can call me every name you want. Don't care, because this has nothing to do with that. This has everything to do with the finances behind it. has absolutely everything to do with the goddamn finances. And if you're just going to bring in more people to work for even cheaper, cheaper money, that for them, relatively speaking, is a good deal. But for Americans, it's not. For Americans, we get to get host because we don't have some other country we can fuck off to. I've been over this and over this. Like, Americans don't have some other place to fuck off to. Oh, you guys out there, you passport bros, you think you can go to some other country. You can go to some other country as long as you have money. As soon as your money runs out, you gotta go. As soon as your dollar becomes worthless, if the US dollar were to collapse, I promise you, every American living abroad, and I do mean this, every American living abroad, unless you are married into a family, you will probably be deported. Or at very least, you will be asked to leave abruptly. Because, yeah, the other countries aren't going to do that. Like, I mean, dude, you're a net benefit if you're bringing money to them, but not if you're just there and now you need a job and you need to work like everybody else. Other countries, yeah, they don't see it that way. They're not. Other countries, there's a reason other countries aren't America. I asked this the other day. Why is it everybody's trying to come here? Well, like, I mean, if you wanted all this cheap labor, why wouldn't you go to where cheap labor is? Why do you need to come here to do this? Well, it's because the other countries won't put up with it. There isn't any other countries that will put up with it. Americans are the only ones that will actually put up with that for now. And Americans, finally, many of them are speaking up and saying, no, we're not putting up with this anymore. So when you have someone like Musk, who is used to people telling him yes all the time, this is the psychosis that takes place. This happened to Elvis Presley, this happened to Michael Jackson, this happened to lots of people, where everybody around them, they surround themselves with people who just tell them yes and make them feel good all the time. Musk is probably, in all likelihood, he is no exception to this. And then someone finally tells you no. Well, that must feel like you've been dragged behind a truck down a concrete road, a crushed concrete road, at that. That's what it probably feels like when someone finally tells you no. Like, dude, no, hey, we're not allowing you to do this. And you've been told yes your whole life. And you've had this army of people that are happy to follow you. And then you finally say, I want to do it this way. And they're like, dude, no, hold on, stop. Why don't you kick the 50 to 60 million illegals that are in the country out of the country right now, like first, before we talk about any of this other stuff? Yeah, so that's what's going on. And, I'm glad to see more people are starting to figure this out, because the American people have put up with enough. They have. This is not a color thing, because this affects black people as white people. Like, dude, the American people have had enough of this. Like, dude, you need to stop importing people. Americans can do a lot of those jobs. Do not tell me that people in other countries, are somehow they're somehow better educated. No, they're not. Grant Cardone, they are not better educated. I saw his bullshit too. No, dude, fuck him. Okay, no, that's complete fucking bullshit. Like, oh, it's the fault of the school system. No, the school system is run by the same oligarchs that own the government, that push all this shit in the schools. Don't come back to me and say, oh, well, the school system's failed us. No, the school system did exactly what you told them to do, which is push a bunch of bullshit down kids' throat and make them stupid. So no, look, and Americans will be just fine. They will figure it out. American companies will figure it out, or they will go bankrupt, which is what they're supposed to do. This is just reality, okay? So, hope that helps.